Okay, welcome to BWTM Online. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please hit the subscribe button. This is a football video, football. This conversation is going to be about, we're going to talk about the FA, we're going to talk about England football, the aftermath of the World Cup. Finals, just to remind you, England supporters, we were in a semi-final. We're known as the home football, 55 million strong country versus Croatia's 3.5 million. Somehow Croatia were able to beat us and get to the finals of the World Cup. Okay, welcome to BWTM Online. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please hit the subscribe. It's always nice to know that you're live. Anyway, so as I said, 55 million strong versus 3.5 million strong. You thought out the 55 million would be able to find 11 men that could stand up, or 12 men, or however many it was on the field, to stand up and put on performance to beat Croatia and get to the final. Well, that wasn't the case. France obviously went on and did the business and won the World Cup. So here it is. This message is predominantly for the the FA chairman, whoever's involved, the FA, the Premier League, and those people behind English football. It is English football for a reason, because it's held in the UK or in England. The other thing is, we often hear people refer to Premier League as the best league in the world. Yeah, it probably is the best league in the world if you want to come, get paid lots of money, and and get lots of advertisement and all the rest of it. Yeah, it probably is the best league in the world with it. Whether it's the strongest league in the world, well, that's still debatable. Based on the Champions League and Real Madrid winning the Champions League over and over again, I think the Spanish league would have a lot more to say in terms of what they've produced at the end. And the end result being that the Spanish team. Okay, welcome to BWTM Online. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please hit the subscribe button. This is a football video, football. This conversation is going to be about, we're going to talk about the FA, we're going to talk about England football. Sorry about that again, the second time. So, I don't know what I was going to say now. So the FA, this message is for them. What does it take for England to win a World Cup? Clearly, the first thing they're going to need is better players. Players capable of performing at elite level. This is a twofold question, or maybe a twofold proposal. And as silly as this sounds, what would you do, or was put together so that that whole England team that was currently playing for England, that whole World Cup setup with Gareth Southgate as manager, and with that whole team, all those players, we pull them out of their current Premier League sides and play them as a separate team or as one team in the Premier League. How would they do week in, week out? How would they perform week in, week out? All English players. That's the first question. Would they win the Premier League? Would they win the Champions League? Would they win an FA Cup? Where would they be rated on a week-to-week basis? Would the England team even be a Premiership team? Could they be a Premiership team? Are they good enough to be a Premiership team? That's the question. And then you think to yourself, well, if they can't win a Premier League week to week, back to back, week to week, then what chance have they got against playing against the best in the world? Surely, if you had an England team playing in the Premier League week in, week out, then they'd have the opportunities to play for A side and B side. You've got a development side, so you probably have to have more than 11 or 22 players. You have to have a bigger squad than that because of what you're doing and your international commitments, and maybe an A side and a B side. Then you have enough players there to play in the Premier League and then develop those players. The whole idea is you're getting to see England players week in, week out. And the time we're taking to do extra training camps and all the rest of it, these guys will be training all the time. They'll be together all the time. So surely cohesiveness would be better. Players knowing one another would be better. They won't have to worry about playing from club to club. They'll be all playing at the same club over and over and over again. So that's suggestion number one. May not be practical because you've got, on top of that, England have got World Cup qualifiers, European qualifiers, friendlies, and all that lucrative stuff that comes with it. So that might not be practical. What could be practical is this. One of those teams in the English Premiership at the moment, whether it be, I don't know, just for argument's sake, whether that be a West Ham, whether that be a Tottenham, a QPR, a Chelsea, one of those teams, maybe even a Burnley, a Leicester City, one of those Premiership teams that you say gets signed off and says, you know what, this is the club, along with the club itself, accept and say, we want to win the World Cup. We want England to win the World Cup. So we will have our team specifically locked off for English players only. English-born, British-born players, and particularly English players born in England. Okay, they have to be born in England because they have to be able to represent England. End of conversation. So one club in the Premiership or the Championship that is of English players. Okay, and then from that, the money that they'd get, they'd find FA throws more money at this development team. The Premiership, all the rights, the money from the Premiership rights, TV rights and stuff, more of that money is allocated towards that English team. With the English manager, the same English manager who would be managing the England team would be managing the club team. So you've got that. So they've got that constant continuity all the way through. From they're playing for their club, they're playing for their country. So, and it will be development players. So you really get to see these players like Kane and Sterling and Pickford and Maguire. All these players you get to see, and Dele Alli, you get to see them playing week in, week out, and not hiding behind or benefiting off the talents of other foreign players. We get to see their real faces and what they're really about and whether they're up to scratch or not. It's all well and good saying, we've got the best striker in Harry Kane. When it came to the World Cup, to me, he looked like a donkey. He did not look like a great striker at all. And again, when it came down to it, against Croatia, we had one shot on goal. That's not good enough. So we need to be able to have a position where we can know what our players are like and what they're up to week in, week out. You can be a star during the World Cup, but then not be able to perform week in, week out. We need a player that can perform week in, week out. We know that it's quality. And if you have a rotation of A side and B side within this English setup, with this English team, English players only, that would be the way forward, I think. That doesn't mean you have to be every player, every team within the Premiership, just one team locked off. And that team is a development team. Now, if that team goes on and wins an FA Cup, that team goes on and wins a Champions League, or even a UEFA League, or Europa League, that gives us a sign as to the quality of our players, because we can say this is an English born squad or English bred squad, all English players, all Englishmen. Why not? Then surely we'd have a better chance of being able to win a World Cup or even a European Championship. But at the moment, a lot of these players are hidden behind inflated prices, and Raheem Sterling being one of those players who couldn't put the ball in the back of a net. And Harry Kane, for all the hype of Harry Kane and being a Golden Boot winner, when it came down to it, when his country needed him, couldn't be found and was running down the left wing or taking balls off the midfield. So it's something I really would love to see the FA do. Select a team in the Premiership, even a Hull City, and get those English players in, top players, and allocate them the funds necessary to buy, bring them in, and have it a team basically that England would select from. So, for example, let's say I picked Crystal Palace or I picked West Ham. I picked West Ham. And West Ham would be perfect because they've got the stadium. They've got the Olympic Stadium. Just use West Ham. So basically, West Ham, we're going to allocate West Ham as the team. That's good. We're going to be picking our first England players from. So it will be the England players, those players from all those other clubs, responsibility to get themselves out of contract or get themselves to West Ham, somehow or the other. So those players will make themselves available to play for West Ham Football Club, all English players. So The money we get for transfer listing our foreign players out of West Ham. We use that money to buy back and bring in English players. Maybe easier said than done, but at least we're setting the mold. We're setting the seeds for 4 or 5 years to see the benefit of players, all English players playing at a club in the English Premiership, and then potentially seeing those English players playing abroad in Champions League games and all the rest of it. So there you have it. That's my proposal for the FA. Let's stop hiding behind the Premier League and all these inflated players around better quality players. You know, the French side have gone and won a World Cup. But again, you look at all the top players that are playing, the Pogba, where everyone's slating Pogba in the Premiership, wasn't a very good player for Man United, all the rest of it. He's now a World Cup winner. And there's so many players, I'm sure, in England that would love to have been holding that World Cup today. So, you know, he's still on a good wage at Man United, and he's a World Cup winner as well. Something that England players may go to the grave never been. So it's just a thought. Well, we've got to do something different in England because it isn't working. And if anyone thinks that this England team were better than the Venables England team, they can think again, because the Venables England team actually played better teams, played better opposition, and got places. This England team was quite happy to lose, try and get through to a semi-finals, and it still backfired in the end against a team that was supposedly more tired than them. So that's it. It's really not what people want to hear, but hey, it's forward thinking, and I'd love to see if the FA could do something like this and the potential of something like this. Don't forget to rate, subscribe. As always, we do appreciate you watching the channel. This has been BWTM, doing football with football news. We're out. Take care. BWTM Sports Channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, like. If you're a loser, hit the dislike button. We're out of here. Take care.